Computer. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It has been a short week, but it has been a busy week. I'm Mark. I'm your host for today, and looking forward to our How to Take Over the World session. Thank you to everybody who has given up their time to watch this today. Your support is always appreciated. As a reminder, our purpose of these meetings is to share knowledge and information and some of the things that we're working on, which is quite a nice opportunity for all our stakeholders to see where they can work with us and what we can develop. Just in terms of things that we work on, access to finance and access to markets, supporting businesses across a variety of different industries. Your tune to get you going this Friday is Avicii, Wake Me Up. Fun fact about this song, first ever song to reach 200 million streams on Spotify and is one of the most Shazammed songs of all time. I actually didn't even realize, that symbol that is, I don't know if you watched the music video, but that symbol that they've got on their shoulder, there's actually Avicii's symbol. So I didn't know it, but now everyone else knows it as well. In terms of what are we working on this week, there was a little bit of a delay around the start of this project, but Sam is busy working on the recruitment and placement of 8 young ladies for the Amani Spa. You'll see the adverts up on the LinkedIn profile. Fun fact is if you put job adverts up onto your LinkedIn profile, it grows quite quickly. So thanks, Sam, for getting that going. This is where Ed and KG, Simon and Tyron were at the Sharks Business Center. They were presenting some of their entrepreneurship and insights and small business insights. Where are we? There we go. Camrynne did her absorption report for Ford, looking at the project that they're running with the S hubs in the Saldanha Bay and Alex sites, basically looking at what those youth were doing, what their absorption opportunities, in other words, how did they go from their 12-month work experience into permanent jobs. There was everything from textile manufacturing, small business support, agri projects. So quite an exciting, quite nice. It's always nice to be able to put some youth stories and success stories to the project. Intercourse was kicking off, restarted the Meet the Management series. She's looking at Alt Capital Partners. That's coming up as the next participant. And when I checked this morning, there were already 19 registrations for this. So that's quite exciting. Basically, this project allows people the opportunity to interact with the founders of venture capital funds, understand their mandates and what are the type of projects that they invest in. The new Adopt an SME cohort has kicked off there, and this is effectively where we are working with 10 entrepreneurs, doing everything from marketing consulting all the way through to getting their back office systems in place. This is just a fun story. So some of you will know this project. We have been working with the guys from DevTouch. They were actually part of last year's Adopt an SME cohort, and Claiborne, who's the founder of this business, has been invited to the TEDx University of South Africa 2022 Forbes Under 30 We Define Tomorrow event. He's been recognized as an elite young social entrepreneur. Remember, kind of Claiborne's intent and things that he's working on is to effectively give access to communication tools for the hearing impaired. So if you know of anybody that's interested in this kind of technology or would be interested in integrating their business, you're welcome to drop me a line and get in touch. Big lesson from the previous week: you need to write every day. I think that some of you have been on the receiving end of some feedback from me. I think the importance of actually writing and developing your writing skills is critical. I find that we need to develop our turnaround times, the way we frame things, and the ability to go and actually deliver content for our clients means that we need to be writing every day. And just for context, I'm probably writing 5 pieces for clients every week, at least 5 pieces every week. That doesn't include anything from proposals for clients through to website copy, through to kind of editing a lot of your stuff. And the only way you're going to get better is to write every day. And I think that the more you do it, the easier you will find it. So that's our big lesson from the previous week. Just some of the things we're watching. We always need some good news stories. Norway's actually just invested 120 million rand in a fruit and nut business in South Africa, and it proves that enlarges for food security, which is one of the topics we've been discussing quite a lot recently. FirstRand CEO is basically, he came out and he said one of the biggest things holding back the renewable energy projects in South Africa is government's rules around localization. So what they are effectively saying is government's rules that you have to buy locally produced steel has meant that you can't actually get these projects going because the demands for South Africa doesn't have the steel to actually produce to go into the equipment into the renewable energy plants. And so now we end up in a situation where it's load shedding all over the country and we can't get renewable energy projects going simply because we don't have local capacity. And his view is that we should be bringing in, letting people import from wherever they want, get the projects up and running and put the power on the grid. In terms of, this was a report that came out last week. South Africa is now in the 10 least attractive mining destinations in the world for the first time. That just talks to kind of government policy around working with investors, lack of power, labor-related issues, and skills that are in the country. Anybody's been watching the Netflix story? Effectively, the Netflix share price dropped nearly 40%, and their big issue is that they can't make money with their existing business model. They're now saying that they're exploring everything from bringing ads into the Netflix business model to cutting out password sharing. I think they said that it's something like 300 million users are using it on a password sharing environment. And that means it's 300 million subscribers that they can't bring online. Big debate at the moment, and I've seen this in a couple of working with some of the clients this week, is so if you've been watching the rest of the world, they talk about this thing called the Great Resignation. So in other words, where the COVID-19 people are saying, I'm not rushing back to work. I've kind of got used to an environment where I live at home and I work from home. And if you tell me that I have to go back to the office, I'd rather just resign and kind of make, I'll kind of run my life in that environment. South Africa has been, so they talk about the great return to the office. Obviously, unemployment means that there is a lot of competition for jobs. And one of the things that they're saying is that, how do you balance the return to the office versus the great resignation? And then this was just something that came up this week, and it's talking again to the food security topic, is food logistics opportunities. So some of the insights that we've seen from this week is between 20 and 30% of all food that is produced in Africa is lost due to bad ports, bad roads, and cold storage, etc. So there's a huge opportunity there, and we must maybe look and see what clients are doing some interesting things in that space, or what potential clients are doing interesting things in that space. I'm going to stop there. And Nay, did I miss anything?
I don't think you missed anything. I think that covers it all.
Cool. Then I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to hand over to Camrynne, who's presenting today.
Just getting my presentation ready.
Cool.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Earth Day. Today's topic, while it aligns with Earth Day, is also something I take very seriously and would consider one of my passions, and that is sustainability and caring for the environment. Today, I'll be focusing on how you can be more sustainable and care for the planet as a business, as well as an individual, as your personal impact matters. Many people live their lives with an attitude of indifference towards the environment. They say things such as, why must I care if no one else does? Or I'm sure someone else is taking steps to end global warming, so I'll let them do it. If we all have this kind of attitude towards saving the planet, nothing is going to get better. There are endless reasons as to why we should care about the environment. For starters, Earth is our only home. We don't have anywhere else to go, and so we should ensure that our actions are done with an intent to preserve what we have. A cleaner environment ensures healthier lives, and if we continue to pollute our air and water sources, we stand risk of devastating consequences, such as cancers and various diseases. Our animals are being severely affected due to a rise in the Earth's overall temperatures. And similarly, our Earth's plants may take a serious hit, and due to this, many countries will face food shortages as a result. The Earth provides us with so many rich raw materials and habitats for ourselves and our animals. And due to the rise in deforestation, we are at a serious risk of lacking very, very essential materials, not to mention destroying the homes of many different animals who rely on specific habitats to survive. We have a moral obligation as human beings who inhabit the earth to protect it. The earth takes care of us by providing us with exactly what we need to live and breathe, and we should do all that we can to ensure that we provide it with the same thing. The last thing I'd want to do is put a damper on anyone's day, but global warming is a very real, very critical issue that we are facing. The consequences that could occur are devastating. And so with that being said, how can you and your business better help the planet? There are many benefits to being an environmentally friendly business, but to name a few, recycling can reduce your costs. By recycling, you could save so much money on simple materials such as paper. And by going green, you would stand out to new customers and clients. Everyone admires people who demonstrate acts of kindness and care for others. And by going green demonstrates a good practice and would set you apart from other companies that don't care as much. It will improve sustainability as a company. And due to a rise in costs that come with climate change, if you are a company that is less dependent on natural resources, your company would have a greater chance of long-term success. So how can you go about it? Get everyone in your company involved. This is a team effort. Chat to your employees and colleagues about how your company can become a more eco-friendly in your practices and stick to it. Notify your customers and clients about your green status so that they can tell the difference between you and your competitors. Be green when making purchases for the company. Everything we buy creates waste in some way, and ensure that your buying is sustainable and can be reduced if possible. Manage your water usage in your company as well, and do your research on solar power and how you can implement it at your offices. And lastly, spread the word. Educate others on the importance of sustainability and encourage them to follow your lead. On an individual level, there are many things you can do each day to become more environmentally friendly and live a more sustainable life. Here are a few. Conserve water, change to LED light bulbs, cut down on your meat consumption, stop food waste, buy locally grown products, reduce your use of harmful chemicals like oil or paint, learn to compost and cut back on plastic usage and stop littering. This Earth Day, ask yourself the question of, what am I doing each day to positively and actively contribute to saving our planet and build healthy habits of sustainability onto that? Here are some wise words to remember today and every day. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. So choose to make a difference every day. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Cam. And, this is like super topical because I think it comes down to a lot of the things that we've started positioning ourselves to work on. And it's interesting because I think 2 of the content mining sessions and I've done in the last couple of weeks, last 7 days, have effectively been with the guys who are, from one of the banks, and they are very specifically looking at this topic around ESG investing, the sustainable development goals. And, one of the things we always ask them is, but, it always sounds good in principle, but it always feels like a bit of a soft and fluffy. But when, one of the things that's coming through very clearly is that businesses are starting to understand the principles around sustainability. We can't keep taking stuff out of the community, out of the country, out of the world, and expecting that there's going to be a brighter future for everybody. And there's some really interesting projects. So there's a solar project that we are working on, very, very big solar project, which will, with any luck, go live. It has to go live before the end of June. The Blossom thing, I spoke to Ahmed again the other day, and one of the biggest problems that a lot of the townships are struggling with is that a lot of them are built on landfills, and effectively that means they're sitting on waste dumps, and the level of waste that is coming through, it's now pushed all the way to the surface, and there's just nowhere else for this waste to go. And we're working on some things there. One, making sure that the sanitary pads are biodegradable, but also the kind of waste management side of things. So they've built these, they're in the process of building these scooters and mini trucks to collect waste that will then be put into a kind of circular economy So there's some very cool stuff that we are working on there, and hopefully it kind of ties in closely to it. The other one that I was just going to, just because it's topical as well, is those Yes Hubs, that particularly that one there in Saldanha is kind of front of mind. One of the biggest challenges they've had is the lack of access to food. And what has happened with lack of access to food is GBV has exploded in those communities because people are hungry, they're drinking, and it sounds like such a simple thing, but if you can feed a community, you can immediately counteract a lot of the challenges related to gender-based violence. So that, there are a couple of things there which makes it not soft and fluffy, but legitimately impacts communities as well. Anybody else got any thoughts or comments?
I think this also just reminded me of a quote that says, if you think somebody's going to do it, remember that you are also somebody. So yeah, thanks, Cam. That was like a great presentation.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the stuff that's happening in KZN as well. I don't want to harp on it, but the government has very quickly come out and said, oh well, it's climate change. But there's two sides to that story. Certainly, climate change has played a role, but by not investing in the infrastructure and allowing people to build houses where in the long term it's not sustainable, you end up in you have these disasters that then end up annihilating communities just because we're not forward thinking. In a lot of, and KZN in particular has been suffered very heavily with corruption, and people are just left there is money to do things like town planning and infrastructure planning, etc. And this is where I really, when I talk about work having purpose, I really want to kind of get this as a message across to you guys, that the work you do has the potential to change lives. Cool. So that is me. Sorry, anybody else got any comments before we go from there? Alrighty, I'm going to do a quick presentation today on secrets your website might be telling you. But to do this, I'm going to need to do it. I'm going to do it in real time and live. I'm going to be sharing 3 tools that are that we use to kind of look at different elements of the of our sorry, lost my train of thought. 3 tools that we're using to kind of inform some of the decision making that we are doing with our business and our digital assets. And I'm going to just jump to here quickly. Just by show of hands, has anybody ever worked with Google Analytics? Paula. Ntokozo. And no, says briefly. So you guys, I mean, these are quite critical tools, and I want you to have a quick look at it. So you just quickly, you guys can see my screen. Hey, you're looking at a thing that says all website data analytics.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so basically what this is looking at our company website at the moment. And what this does is show you information about what is happening at any point in time on your website. So right now, so basically that says that 45 people were on the website over the last 7 days. Now I want I'm going to just do something here quickly on the other computer. This is now looking at real-time data for our website. And see, at the moment, it says there's nobody on the website, but it will then come in. I'm just going to, there we go. And that is me now on the website. You can see I'm in Randburg, and I have gone directly to that website page. And I'm now going to go to the Black Industrialist page. And you can see somebody else has joined on mobile. That's cool as well. But you can see what pages people are visiting in real time, looking at the website. You can see, no, let's just do this. We'll go quickly and have a look at the audience overview. So this basically tells you how many of them are new visitors versus returning visitors, how long they spend on your page. So bounce rate, so the bounce rate on this website is not great. That's basically somebody landing and then going off. How many pages they consume during any particular during a particular session. You can see what devices they are connecting with. So you can see what browsers they're using. So Chrome, DuckDuckBot, Safari, Samsung Internet, Android, Edge, Firefox. You can see how they go from, depending on which country, how they flow through your website. So what page they go to, and then where do they go to from the next page. You can have a look at how you acquired them. So how many of them came directly to your website, how many used search, how many used social referrals and and then how many of them were referred via other tools. And I'll come to search in a moment just because it's there's some quite interesting things there. And then you can also go and look at your most popular pages at any particular point in time. So for instance, our most popular pages in the last 7 days are Black Industrialist Grant, the investment case for Afrimat, and our contact us page. Obviously each website's got its own interrogation, etc. But basically what it does show you is that there's plenty of information about what is happening with what people do when they get onto your website. And Jess and I are going to be working on a new site, but we will use some of this stuff to actually inform how we go about actually developing the content and the user flow and that kind of thing. But I thought it's just interesting just to show you what access you get, what information you've got there, so that you can actually start to get informed decisions. You can see geographically where people are from, and you can zero in on that. But it is just interesting just to see what people are sharing. The next tool is this Google Search Console. So basically Search Console tells you a couple of things, but basically it starts to interrogate how people can find your website when they are doing when they search on Google. So in this case, I've just taken the dynamic body technology site, but this effectively says how many clicks they generated from search, how many impressions you've got, what's the average click-through rate, so CTR's click-through rate, and in terms of overall, what is your average position in Google searches. So 52 means you're sitting in page 5 of the searches. The higher that is, the more of interest. You can then start to see what people are, where you are most commonly featuring in the Google search terms. So for instance, people, when they're looking at DBT, the search comes up. So corporate wellness technology, body technology, employee wellness. You can see the particular tools that they are referencing. And here's, this is the one we really want to zero in on, company wellness solutions in Johannesburg. So we want to get that number up as we're going along. You can also have a look at the number of website pages. So, everyone knows I have a certain gripe about how when this website was put together. But one of the things that we've been doing is submitting the individual pages. So remember, Google goes out there and it searches your website, and it does, you've got various different statuses. So has it been submitted to Google and been indexed? So in other words, can people find it? And so in that case, 19 of those pages have been submitted and searched. In this case, Google has discovered them, but not indexed them, crawled, but not indexed. Each of them's got a different meaning for it, but it just shows you that the number, where Google is in terms of looking at your site. And the idea is obviously you want Google to discover your site and do content rich. You want Google to be searching your site and finding you as they're going along. I'm going to just stop for a moment there. Any questions? Dead silence. The third tool I'm going to do, and this is quite cool, it's called Rank Math, and this is how you can go about creating content for your website and getting it searched by Google, and how to go and increase it. And I'll do this on the fly for you so you can see it in real time. This is just a free version of Rank Math. But if I'm going to go and create a post to go onto the website, onto the DBT website. Let me close this. So our website is awesome corporate wellness solutions in Johannesburg. So this is the post that's going to go. In the top corner here, you can see this thing called Rank Math. So this is a tool that we've embedded on specifically on the DBT site so that we can then go and do publishing. And just watch the score in the top right-hand corner. So at the moment, it's 2 out of 100. Do you want an awesome corporate wellness solution provider in Johannesburg? And then we say, and you can see now it's jumped up to 5 out of 100. What Google is looking for, and then it'll say, we loved this article on HRO, which looked at corporate wellness solutions in Johannesburg. And when you do a hyperlink to an external link page, you do that, and it will go up to 14. When you embed a YouTube video, so we'll just grab one from the DBT site here quickly. Our awesome corporate wellness video. And we embed that. It climbs to 15. And then it starts to ask you like a couple of things. So what are your focus keywords that you want people to search for? So awesome corporate wellness solutions. And now it's up to 52. Corporate wellness solutions in Joburg. And then you can edit the snippet here and you can say, are you looking for an awesome corporate wellness solution in Johannesburg? And that didn't like that one. So anyway, I'm doing this on the fly, but you can see it's now dropped just because I've edited the snippet to it. So it'll a lot of it'll have to do with the length. So it'll basically the title of the page. So you can see the moment I've changed the title of the page, it changes how Google's going to go about searching for it. But it's got a whole lot of like really interesting things. So it'll tell you content is 33 words. The kind of ideal length for online content is at least 600 words. How often does the focus keyword appear in the content? So there's the keyword density, including headers in your particular articles then that include the keywords. Do you have external links in it? Do you have any internal links? How readable is the title? So does it have a positive or negative sentiment? Do you have a power word in it? So we had the word awesome. Content readability. Are you using short paragraphs? Does it have an image or a video? And so basically this guides you through the creation of website content as well. And I think it like be a really powerful, and you know, this habit of creating content will be far more powerful if you actually know what Google is actually looking for. So these are just 3 very simple tools, but I don't want to get each of them requires some specialist training and that kind of thing. But I just thought these are 3 cool tools where you've got very real world information about creating content. And I thought it would be of interest to the audience today. Any questions? Ntokozo?
Oh, sorry, I didn't have a question. But I definitely think there would be value for us to possibly get a little bit more training and tutorial. Like I've worked on Google Analytics and WordPress, but as Ane said, it was very briefly, and I think there's been some time since I really worked on it. So I definitely think there would be value somewhere down the line for us to just invest in some proper training on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I'm not an expert. I mean, this I've kind of taught myself as we go along, so I'm happy to invest in that. But for you guys that are working on the Adopt an SME stuff as well, you can start to use these tools to be able to share with with the small businesses, because obviously, the website is their kind of number one tool for finding clients, or at least passively finding clients. And if we can do, these are very simple and free tools that all exist to be able to work through the development of their marketing collateral. So that's just of interest. Paula, you had a question?
Yeah, more of a comment. So my experience with Google Analytics came in quite a lot when we started lockdown and us trying to understand how students were accessing our Moodle site. And so that breakdown of devices was quite useful. How many students are on mobile devices? What type of device are they on? And it was quite interesting the amount that were on like iPhone compared to an Android device, etc. So you can then also design for your consumer. So it helped us understand, and also are students joining via data? Are they joining on an ADSL line versus fiber? So it gave us quite a good understanding of how students were accessing their learning resources. And that gave us quite a lot of insight into like not using high resolution media, how to actually design for what the students could actually use effectively. And that became very useful in how we approached the SWOT to online learning. So yeah, and luckily we had a history, I'd had Google Analytics on our site for probably 3 years prior to that. So I had a good history of what our students were doing, which wasn't necessarily present on the other learner management systems that were going around. So that really did help us, in the run up.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's exactly it is that it's free resource. You can see how people are interacting with websites. It's you can work out what devices are they joining via mobile, are they joining via one of the things I noticed the other day and just randomly is we have a lot of people that get to the contact us page and yet they're not completing the form. So what are we doing to ensure that we keep them in that loop? We can track things in terms of that you can buy legal agreements through the site, so we can get information about that. We can get information about the information that's being shared from the various forms that are being completed. So I mean, yeah, I think Jess, we will definitely be kind of using some of this, and it is time for a refresh. And I mean, obviously the world has changed since we started. So we are going to be working on this and trying to build out a strategy to actually get our website working harder as well. So I'm quite excited about that. Anybody else got any thoughts or comments? Yeah, so
I've just got like an interesting fact. I read this week that like if like on Instagram or something, someone comes across your brand or your company name, they'll go look at your website. It's something like 70% of people will go look at the website, right? If there's a product that interests them. Yeah. 68% of that 78%, if they don't like your website, they won't invest or go to the shop or email the client, email the potential company or whatever. So your website does have like a big significant influence on your clients, like a bigger one than you think.
Yeah, it's 100%. I think that is exactly the reason why, and for most SMEs, they don't have a sales team, they don't have people out there knocking on the door. And your website is going to be that tool that's out there, so you need to make it work. And I think that there's a perception that you just stick a static website out there, but it's the first impression people get. So if it's a Wix website or it is there's big typos on it, it immediately switches people off. So 100%, Sam, you're 100% correct there. Cool. Any other comments? Alrighty, it has been a good week. I'm very excited about, I think we are recharging. I know that this last 2 weeks have been a bit of a dog show in terms of getting stuff over the line, and there's been a lot of disruptions with everything from COVID through to load shedding, through to floods, through to whatever, any other disruptions, be it public holidays. I think what we are very fortunate about is that we have managed to keep taking steps in the right direction. There are lots of things that could be done better, but I think we are set up quite nicely, and fingers crossed we will have a good run into May. For everybody else, have a good weekend, and we shall chat then again during today. Cheers, guys.
Happy
Happy
Friday.
Friday.